In this video, we're going to talk about how to get inverse rounded corners with HTML5 and CSS3. I have this example here. I have a blue file folder looking thing. It's easy enough to get these rounded corners. It's this inverse corner here that can be tricky. There are a couple different ways to achieve this, so let's take a look at my solution to this problem. First, let's build the folder. We need to create the tab, so I'll make a div with an ID of tab. In the CSS, reference the tab ID. I'll set the height to 40 pixels. And the width to 200 pixels. And the background color to blue. In the original example, the top left and top right corners are rounded. So let's add a border radius of 20 pixels, 20 pixels, 0 pixels, and 0 pixels. Okay, looks good. Now we'll create the folder part. I'll make another div with an ID of folder. In the CSS file, I'll give the folder div a height of 350 pixels. And a width of 600 pixels. And I'll set the background color to blue. Okay, it's looking pretty good so far. Now we need the top right corner, bottom right corner, and bottom left corner to be rounded. So I'll set the border radius of the folder to 0 pixels, 20 pixels, 20 pixels, and 20 pixels. Okay, nice. Now all we're missing is the inverse corner. So to get this inverse corner, the first thought would be to set the border radius to a negative value. But unfortunately, that doesn't work. It breaks the border radius for all corners on the tab div. We need to use a little trick to force the browser into doing what we want. Take a look at this bottom left corner. If you look at the blue part, it's a normal rounded corner. But if you look at the background, the white part, there's an inverse rounded white corner. What we're going to do is place two divs directly on top of each other. One will serve as a blue background, and the other as a white overlay that we can use to mask the blue and create an inverse rounded corner. Let me show you what I mean. First, let's create the blue background. I'll put a new div between the tab and corner divs. This div is going to be the inverse corner, so I'll give it an ID of corner. This will just be a solid blue square. Also, I'll create another div with an ID of overlay. This is what we'll mask the corner div with. In the CSS file, I'll give the corner div a height of 40 pixels, the same as the tab. Width will be 50 pixels. And the background color will be blue. If I refresh the page, the corner div is on a new line. We'll need to set display to inline block so that the browser doesn't create a new line for each div. I'll set the tab, corner, and overlay divs to display inline block. Okay, now they're on the same line, but we have this gap between the tab and the folder. We need to set the folder's position to absolute, and then set the top property to 47 pixels. That will make it line up right up against the bottom of the tab div. The next issue is that the corner div has a gap between itself and the tab div. We want it to sit right up against the tab. I'll set the margin left property of the corner div to -4 pixels. Now it sits right next to the tab div. Perfect. For the overlay div, we want it to be the same size and the same position. We want it to sit right on top of the corner div. I'll set the height and width of the overlay to be the same as the corner div. Since the background of the page is white, for demonstration purposes, I'll set the background color of the overlay to black. Now, this overlay div is going to act like a mask over the corner div. If we use border bottom left radius on the overlay div, we can mask everything except an inverse rounded corner at the bottom left. I'll set border bottom left radius to 20 pixels. Now, all we need to do is position the overlay on top of the corner div. The width of the corner div is 50 pixels, and we moved it 4 pixels to the left. So we need to move the overlay 54 pixels to the left. Margin left, -54 pixels. And there you go. As you can see, the black overlay div masks the corner div except for this bottom left corner. If we change the background color of the overlay to white, it blends in with the background and it looks like we have one solid shape. So there you have it, inverse rounded corners with HTML5 and CSS3. Thanks for watching. Please rate and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.